Hello, everybody. This is Reggie, or William Cunningham, from My Hope in Marriage. You can visit us online at myhopeinmarriage.com. And the purpose of My Hope in Marriage is just me sharing my 35 years of marriage experience with you and my marriage knowledge, because I've also been studying and researching about marriage relationships since that time, since I got married, since maybe even a little before I got married, because when I got married, I was, thinking, I don't know how to be married, and I wanted it to work. And so I decided to study it. So I started buying books, tapes, and so forth and so on. And I just later decided to share that with you on a website. My Hope in Marriage is actually a ministry of Pursuing the Truth Ministries, my other Christian ministry. And I just decided to take the marriage section out of that and make it separate. All right. Okay. Now, today, what I want to share with you is something that I came across, oh my goodness, over 20 years ago, maybe 23, 24 years ago, because I remember my son wasn't born yet. And there was something that I read. A gentleman that I work with told me about a guy named Roy Masters, who I believe died a few years ago. And he is the foundation of human understanding, I think it was. But anyway, he made a statement in one of his articles, if I remember correctly, it was an article, a video. I think it was more likely an article, where he said that the most dangerous threat to a man child or a male child is his mother. And I never understood that, because I was thinking about my mother, and my mother is more old school, from, someone born in the 40s or the 30s or whatnot. They're old school, whereas mothers and fathers today are not. And I didn't see that back then until, I got married. I started observing people that were in my age group and how they were raising their kids. And even up until this day, I see things that people do with their children, not just women with their sons, but parents in general, that is harmful to the child's development as a responsible, respective human being. All right. So what I want to focus on today is the statement from that article. And I'm going to do a more general video on how parents can mess up their kids. Because it's the father and the mother that can really do harm to their children's development through lack of disciplining them, appeasing them, placating them, and so forth and so on. But right now, I just want to look at that, because this was a revelation to me when I actually started to see it unfold in couples, in married couples' relationship with their children, especially mothers with their son. And again, I was unfamiliar with this because my mother wasn't like this, and mothers of the kids that I grew up, for the most part, from I remember, wasn't like that. Anyway, here we go. One of the first things that a woman can do to really mess up her son is to undermine what the father is doing. This is critical. Now, this also assumes that the father is active in his son's development. He's not just going to work and coming home. He's actually active in raising his son. So let's make that assumption. And if that's not the case, father, you need to get your stuff right. All right? Okay. So a wife undermines her husband's efforts to raise the son right, because the father is naturally going to try to teach his son how to be a man. And a woman cannot do that. And not only can she not do that, she can interfere with that process and mess him up. And he'll become a feminine oriented male adult. And we don't want that. Okay, we want a masculine male. Males are masculine, all right? Okay, so the first thing is that a wife undermines the efforts of her husband to raise the son. The husband may let's say the father will tell his son to do something, or he may limit his son from doing something. He may prohibit his son from doing something. He may set something up for his son to do, but the wife comes along and lets him off the hook. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. She comes along and does the opposite, knowing. Now, this is assumed she knows what the father is about and what he's doing. All right, which is why you need to communicate. Okay, when my wife and I, not before we got married, before we had a son, or it might have been before we got married, we talked about how we would raise the children. Okay, another thing that a wife can do or a mother can do to really damage her son is to appease him, because after a while he's going to start thinking, and he's going to start using that against his mother. He's going to start manipulating her to get what he wants. And I will dare say that all children would do that, right? All right, so he'll begin to use that, and mixing that with what we just said about undermining her husband. He's going to use that to get her to undermine her husband, because the son knows dad said this, but if I can get mom, I can just, mom, let me do it. All right. So she can appease her son, because she's more likely going to be running on an emotional paradigm instead of the paradigm that the father is going to use, which is more teaching, development, showing him how to be a man, disciplining, and so forth and so on. And again, that assumes that the father is doing that. I've seen guys who are just placating their kids, appeasing their kids, not disciplining their kid, let their kids run wild in the supermarket, in the stores, and it's just weird. Okay, that was foreign to me. Okay, all right. Now, she spoils him, and that goes along with appeasing him. She spoils him. She gives him whatever he wants. She goes out of her way to give him whatever he wants, even if he behaves in a manner that you would say, well, I'm not getting you that, because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. You haven't been doing your chores. Why should I just go out here and give you a gift? But because she's appeasing him and spoiling him, she's going to do that. All right? She's going to do that. And in the process, she ruins her son, because he grows up with a mindset. Mind you, the kid is developing a mindset. So she's developing this mindset in him that he can have whatever he wants. He's entitled to whatever he wants. He doesn't have to deserve or earn anything. All right? And he can just do what he wants, and somebody else is going to do something for him. All right? Which is the antithesis of being a man. A man is responsible. He takes care of business. He does what is necessary, even when he doesn't want to do it. That also means, fellas, that it may be tough, but if you see your wife destroying your son or your daughter, you need to step up and tell her. All right? Because the life of your kid is at stake. Because if they grow up with the goofy mentality, the bad mindset about things, they're going to get a wrong perspective of how the world works out there. And they're going to go out there thinking that people are just going to do stuff for them. And they're going to get a very rude awakening. Okay, another thing that a mother can do to ruin her son is to placate him. She may placate him. She may, just want to keep him from getting angry, to bring down the anger. She wants to try to manipulate him such that he doesn't get angry, he doesn't get upset, so forth and so on. All right. And in doing so, you let him off the hook. It causes her to appease him. It causes her to spoil him. And don't get me wrong, the father can do the same thing. But I'm really focusing on that article that I read decades ago because it was a revelation how mothers can destroy their sons. The greatest threat to a man child is his mother. And I wasn't aware of that then, but I see it now. All right. Matter of fact, of course, the greatest threat to any child is their parent, all right, or their parents. All right. Okay. Now, she lets him off the hook. We already talked about that. Because she's undermining her husband, because she's appeasing the child, placating the child, giving the child whatever he wants, she lets him off the hook. For example, let's say the father's trying to teach him responsibility. And he says, look, you have to wash the dishes or you have to clean such and such every week. All right. And she comes along and she starts cleaning. All right. And lets him off the hook. Oh, because he has to study. Oh, because he had a hard day at school. Oh, he was playing real hard and I figured. You see what I'm saying? So she lets him off the hook and he learns. Remember, this mindset in him is developing as he grows older. And he's developing a mindset that somebody's going to take care of what he is responsible for. All right. He's not going to realize it that his mother taught him that. Or not just to blame all mothers, because it's not all mothers. All right. It's not all mothers. Some mothers get it. They understand. All right. But I find that to be more so in the older school mothers, where they understand the role of a guy and their role in not only the relationship and in raising their children. Okay. So another thing she does is, this is a big one. She lacks disciplining. She does not discipline her son because she's appeasing him, placate. She wants to be his best friend instead of his mother teaching him developing him to be a responsible adult in this world, and the father teaching him how to be a man. All right. And because she lacks discipline, because she does not discipline her son, because of all those things, she's appeasing him and so forth and so on, he doesn't get course corrections in his life. It's more than a matter of knowing right and wrong. She's teaching him right and wrong. It's much more. It's helping him to develop a healthy mindset. You've got a whole bunch of people out there who think that they are entitled to stuff just because. All right. And they grew up with they grew up developing that mindset. Why? Because no one told them. Their parents and maybe even the elders around them were just too busy trying to be their friends. And the mother is too busy trying to make his life easy, make him comfortable, make him happy, that she ruins him. All right. So lacking or not disciplining your son, mothers and fathers, is deadly. You spoil someone, they grow up thinking that everybody owes them something or they're entitled to stuff. They don't have to earn or deserve. Somebody else is going to do it for them. If I have a responsibility, I don't have to do it. Somebody else is going to. Imagine getting into the workforce like that. Imagine. All right. So those are just some basic things that I've observed over 35 years of marriage after reading that article by Roy Masters. And I'll say it again. What he said was that the most dangerous thing, and I'm not quoting, I don't remember exactly, but it was like the most dangerous thing to a man child is his mother. And again, I think it was Roy Masters. I could be wrong, but I remember that statement. I remember I associated it with him. But if it's not, I apologize to the Roy Master people, whatnot. But it's a true statement. It's a true statement. The most dangerous thing to a man child is his mother. All right. And I would dare say, even above that, the most dangerous thing to a man child is an absentee father. Now, how many mothers, how many children, male children, are there out there where their father is not around? You are asking for disaster. All right, that's why the family unit is so important. The mother and father contributing to raising their children and fulfilling their purpose as a couple. That's very, very, very important. And that structure has gradually been destroyed. All right. So these are just some things that mothers can do to ruin their children. So if you're a mother, consider that. You know, your husband, he may seem harsh. He may seem like he doesn't care because he's so harsh, he's so strict or whatnot. But he's trying his best to raise his son to be a respectful, responsible male human being, i.e., he's raising him to be a man. And mothers, you can't do that. So step off, back off, and let the father do what God designed them to do. You can support that. You know, you can support that. You can discuss what you want to do. If your child wants to do something like in a few months, you can talk about it, you know, so forth and so on. But you need to get out of the father's way. You need to stop appeasing your son, mothers. You need to stop placating them. You need to stop spoiling them. You definitely need to stop undermining the efforts of his father to raise him. All right. You need to get out of the way of the man trying to teach a boy how to be a man. Because when you don't do that, you're going to get this messed up male adult who thinks everybody owes him something. All right. Okay. So that's very, very important. And you need to discipline them. Discipline them. You know, don't let them off the hook. All right. I don't want to get more into that, but that's just basically some things that mothers, you need to be concerned about. You need to consider. Fathers, you need to make sure that you're actually stepping up. All right. And raising your children and not just letting them run wild, especially fathers with their sons. Are you really actively trying to teach your son how to be a man? Well, you need to do that. All right. And your wife should help you. Remember, the wife is the husband's helper. She's going to help him raise his children. In this particular case, specific case, we're talking about she's going to help him raise his son, their son, to be a responsible man. All right. She's not going to undermine him. She's not going to, basically everything that I said is a way of undermining the father's effort to raise his son or to teach his son how to be a man. And when you undermine that, he doesn't know how to be a man. He's going to grow up with some crazy mentality, and it's just going to mess things up. And it's going to mess his life up. I'm talking about his diet. The father said, look, he can't be eating all these sweets, but she keeps giving him sweets and sugars and just junk food. And he's trying to get him to eat healthy, but she's giving him all kinds of stuff. He's saying, no, we're not going to get him that TV. We're not going to give him that flat screen TV because he doesn't do his chores. He laxes in schoolwork or whatever the case may be, but she gets it anyway. All right? That kind of stuff you can't do, ladies. And fathers, make sure you're stepping up and doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? Well, anyway, I just wanted to bring that out because that was a major revelation for me. I've been wanting to bring this to your attention for some time now, but I finally said, you know what, let me just do it. All right? Let me just do it. Okay, so mothers, do not destroy your sons. Rely on that husband, or if you don't have a husband, rely on that male, responsible male figure to teach your son how to be a man, because you can easily ruin his life and not even realize it. All right? Okay. Well, this is William Cunningham of My Hope in Marriage. You can visit us online at myhopeinmarriage.com. I pray that you will be blessed and that your family will be a very, very prosperous one. Until next time, be blessed. I wanted to make sure I was clear about something and to avoid any possible misunderstanding. In no way am I saying that mothers are a threat to their children, to their sons. All right? It is the mother who is appeasing, placating, spoiling, undermining her husband. That mother is a threat. And of course, where I was talking about an article that I read decades ago. All right, so many women are aware of the fact that it takes a man to make a man. All right, so in no way, ladies, am I saying, if you're a mother, I am not saying that you are a threat to your son. You are a potential threat to your son. A greater threat to your son is a husband that's not around. Or if you're not married, you're single, or if you're not married, okay, you can look for a father figure, maybe a brother or something. But it takes a man to make a man. And in no way do I want mothers to think that they are a threat. You are a potential threat. The father is a potential threat. We'll talk about that in another video, okay? I just wanted to make that clear because there are lots of women out there who get it. And just because a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man, she can teach him to be a responsible adult, with integrity. He's honest and so forth and so on. She can teach him how to budget money, how to do all those different things. So he can at least learn that from his mother. But how to be a man, how to think like a man, he has to watch a man. He has to observe a man. A man has to teach him. All right, so that's very, very important. I want to make sure, ladies, you understood that. You're not necessarily the threat, but you are a potential threat if you fall out of place with a guy who's there trying to teach his son to be a man, and you begin to undermine him in the various ways that I talked about in the video. All right? All right. Just want to be clear on that.